Ultimately, water integrity is one of the most important means to mitigate corruption in the water sector. And now Thomas is not with us, but there it came, the C word. So, and the water integrity program at CIWI, and Thomas mentioned that we have the father with us here, Håkan is here. And the program actually started with a high-level panel at the World Water Week in Stockholm in 2004 already. And the discussion started already then. There was a huge interest, and we did the next year as well at the World Water Week acknowledge this issue and discuss it in a seminar. And then the year after, all concerned organizations came together and founded the Water Integrity Network. And then we have continued working with the Water Integrity Network. We have worked together to do water integrity risk assessments, and we did a mapping in the SADC region, the Southern Africa Development Community, and then continued working with developing a training manual on water integrity, and used this manual basically to promote building systems resilient to corruption, again the C word, and also providing guidance on the application of anti-corruption tools. And this is a little bit how CIWI sees and works with capacity building. We usually have tailor-made capacity building programs. We do these in collaboration with local partner organizations. We have facilitation of peer-to-peer knowledge exchange. We use hands-on and interactive activities. And always our guiding principle is that water is an avenue for peace, cooperation, and development within and between the countries. So about the water integrity capacity building program in the Middle East and North Africa, it is implemented by the UNDP Water Governance Facility at CIWI in cooperation with IUCN, ROA, the Regional Office for West Asia, Integrity Action, and then Global Water Partnership Mediterranean, with the financial support of the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, and also the support of AWARENET, which is the Arab Integrated Water Resources Management Network. And we work in 5 different pilot countries with national partners. We work in Jordan, Lebanon, Morocco, Palestine, and Tunisia. And what is important, sorry, I wanted to say this before, that in all these 5 countries, we did, before starting the actual activities in these countries, we tried our best to do to actually have the political endorsement from the concerned ministers in each of these countries. And we did obtain the political support from all 5 countries. And in addition, in December, we also got the political support for this program from the 43 member countries of the Union for the Mediterranean. So that was also a big achievement, since this is a very sensitive topic, and usually political support is needed in order to be able to talk about these issues. Okay, sorry. So the overall objectives, sorry. As mentioned earlier, we wanted to match what is already being done by Aqua and GIZ program with water utilities. So we are trying to focus on the water operators and managers responsible for water affairs across the whole field of water resources management. And we're targeting different levels. So we work at the regional level to raise awareness and foster high-level political dialogue. Here we have both the objective to create a network through our alumni, the people who participate in our trainings, but also to address high-level political decision makers. On the national level, the objective is to improve the information flow and communication channels between decision makers. And here we target water officials in regulation, controlling, planning, and anti-corruption. On the operational level, the objective is to ensure integrity within the organizations. And here it's on the mid-level, water managers on the mid-level, and as well in operation and private sector. And on the local level, the objective is to strengthen civil society to demand transparency and accountability in the management of water resources. And this includes, of course, water user associations, farmers' organizations, media, and so on. And across all levels, we want to work specifically also with women. And we don't really need to go through the implementation plan of the program, but this is to give an idea that we wanted to start with doing the rapid assessments of how the situation is in those countries that we are working in order to inform the adaptation of the training materials that we will use. And then we had a training of trainers in the first year where we mobilized the trainers who will be actually delivering the trainings in the different countries. And now during 2015, we will be rolling out the training workshops and continue with advocacy and stakeholder engagement and start a mentorship program so that both our alumni, people who participate in the trainings, as well as our trainers, have the support as well from us and from our partners. In 2016, we will have the alumni water integrity workshops, both regional and national. And then we will have the advocacy and regional reach out. And in 2017, we have a regional high-level meeting and a learning summit. And we will continue working with the dissemination and knowledge sharing also at the World Water Week in Stockholm. So I wanted to say a few words about the findings from the water integrity assessments that we made. And just to be clear that these were really rapid assessments that we did to inform the development of the adaptation, actually, of the training materials, as I said. And these were conducted and peer-reviewed by our national partners in coordination with IUCN. And the methodology we used here was desk review, face-to-face semi-structured interviews, a national consultative workshop to validate and rank integrity risks and capacity needs. And what we find on the local level was that there is low civil society participation and lack of transparency in policy formulation. And there are no formal water utility associations, no advocacy or watchdog skills, and lack of communication. Citizens in general said that there is a lack of awareness about the rights and responsibilities related to water, and there are illegal connections and corrupt meter readings. Farmers' breach of water licensing regulations, illegal wells, and tampering with meters, leading to over-abstraction of water resources. Media, little experience in reporting on water and corruption. Independence questioned whether the media is independent or not, which also links to water users and local officials. And then the gender aspect here is that women are excluded from dialogue about water. So then they become more vulnerable also to middlemen. On the operational level, we had in tendering and procurement, preferential treatment of contractors and inflated prices due to closed culture based on patronage networks. On human resources management, we have nepotism in recruitment processes leading to appointment of non-qualified personnel. Also overstaffing, poor working moral of staff, and lack of job descriptions is also clear integrity problems here. Poor performance, poor customer service, lack of accountability, poor coordination with government bodies, unclear budgeting and planning, both in decision making, but also in budget allocation and budget management, and in feasibility studies. And also here, the gender aspect is that women working in these institutions are sometimes not really taken seriously, and their work and ideas are therefore overlooked or downplayed. And this was actually also the same on the national level. But in addition, there was also the poor coordination on the vertical level within the government bodies, and also lack of public involvement in decision making. Now, on the high level, for the decision makers, there is a lack of transparency in formulating policies, unclear basis for allocation of water rights between different users, weak monitoring, patronage, lack of knowledge of corruption, and then the gender aspect here as well is the exclusion of women, as the whole field remains, with a few exceptions, man-dominated. So the conclusions, that the MENA region faces water integrity risks at multiple levels, which undermines effective water governance, such as implementation of laws and policies, enforcement of regulation, equitable service provision, and empowerment of women. Integrity risks also impede foreign investments in water infrastructure, including public-private partnerships. And water integrity risks need to be openly acknowledged as being problematic and addressed accordingly in water reforms. And now I would like to take this opportunity to also launch the first capacity building workshop, which will be held now at the Third Arab Water Week on the 14th and 15th of January. And this will be the start of our training workshops, which will continue now during the year with the cooperation of our partners. Oh, sorry. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Alice. I think this is a perfect program that supplements or complements the water tap activities that are purely done and implemented at utility level. But this program is addressing, as you have seen, the policy level and the whole water sector level, including agriculture. Because I was working in agriculture, and there's also in irrigation a lot of topics that need to be addressed in relation to participation and accountability and transparency of water allocation. So I would like now to invite probably one from Egypt who started to work on this topic since 3 weeks, I guess. Just to report in 2 minutes, in a nutshell, what is happening in the Siwa Oasis. The Siwa Oasis is a place where Alexander the Great was for a couple of weeks or days. I'm not sure whether you met him, but probably Khalid can tell us what's going on when we started in mid-December to launch the program. What you did. Or not you did, but your staff did.
Thanks.
Polling committee did.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy this sunny day today. I am from Egypt, one of the coordinators for water integrity. I want just to give a brief about what we had done last days or last weeks, because as he told and mentioned, we just worked for 3 weeks. In the beginning, we applied the transparency, accountability, participation in the beginning. As soon as Mr. Bitterman came with Mr. Muawad, they selected according to criteria the companies, and then from the companies they made a criteria again to select the coordinators. And Mr. Bitterman himself was happy because almost a lot of them are ILT program participants. So that was an indication of beginning and putting a base. I think the base is the most important. And then, because we are persuaded about water integrity, our chairman, we thank them very much for their cooperation for us and support. Of course, I thank one of them with us here to the support. And beginning with selecting the coordinators, Miss Iman, Miss Amal, and Mr. Abdulati, Mr. Amr, and me representing all the pilot scale companies. Then the next step, or what was done already, is selecting the program, the process. We got a workshop in Cairo inviting the chairman, who are the decision makers in the companies, and we agree with them completely about the process, which process has to be put as priority. And after that, as soon as we came back to our companies, we made a meeting with the top management to give them the idea and to be persuaded about what they will do. The third step was last week is selecting or putting criteria to selecting the process managers. As soon as we work in water integrity, and we hope to scale up our pilot scales after 1 year, inshallah we will success in this. And we know there are a lot of challenge, but we have to be patient. The change is not so easy. Thank you so much for everybody.
Yes, thank you, and congratulations to the holding company to start this process in an accelerative mode. And we hope that later this week we can start in Mir Huna and in Aqaba Water a similar approach with the assistance of our regional expert Jamal. So I'm now opening the floor for the questions from the floor. Opening the discussion, not the floor. For questions that you may have to the practitioners or to those who develop the concept.
Thank you. I am Brahim Obada from Jordan Water Authority. Actually, I took the training course about water integrity, so my remarks or my question will be based upon my training background. First question is to Oni and Suded. After I think 1.5 years of implementing the water integrity project, I think it's good for us to share with us some results and outcomes. For example, you share with us the procurement steps. What have been actually implemented in terms of water integrity? Do you change the procedure? Do you modify the actions have to be taken in the future? The second question is to Alice. Also, we actually in Jordan, from our training, we feel that once we say that corruption is very dangerous or is not unfavorable for decision makers. So how we can commit our decision maker in terms of convince to implement such a project in their institution, unless actually some of these decision makers are not interested to to show where is the gaps in his institution in terms of integrity. At the end of the day, he will reflect as impactful to his personality or to his institution. So how we can overcome this situation, how we can get commitment and convince them to
so we have now two questions. One is related to the C word. That's why exactly we are avoiding the C word. So, but we are collecting now 2 or 3 questions, and then we proceed with the answers.
Yeah, it's working, yeah. Okay. Yes, hello. My name is Ralf Klingbeil. I'm working with UNESCO in Beirut, Regional Advisor for Environment and Water. Under that function, I'm also the AwareNet Network Coordinator. So thank you for Alice to actually present our partnership with CIVI and the other regional and national partners on the second part of the project, the second project. What I would like to ask is actually two angles. One on the implementation for the utilities, because I understand the focus for the first project, the TAP project, is primarily on utilities. Is there, I mean, you focused a lot on the national activities so far, and a little bit on the exchange between the countries. Is there a potential to move this further into a more formalized process? We are talking about utilities, where we actually have very similar processes within a utility in a country like Morocco, in Palestine, or in Jordan. The processes of procurement, of decision-making are rather similar compared to principally different governance settings in resource allocations in countries, for example. So there are similarities between the utilities. Is there a potential to develop into a formalized peer review where you invite, in Morocco, you invite partners from Tunisian utilities or Jordanian utilities to come up with a peer review of your processes in the country, in your national institution, and that can then be actually vice versa replicated? Is this a potential for the future, maybe? That could be something for Aqua to coordinate between the countries. That's one direction. The other aspect, Alice already mentioned the 2 days trainings we are going to have after the Arab Water Week on Wednesday and Thursday, 14 and 15 this month. This is the first of the regional trainings which is meant to go beyond the 5 first focus countries, so particularly addressing countries which will not receive a lot of the other national trainings. There are so many national trainings coming up. This is the first one we are looking at. We have the intention to do more, not only one more, actually even more in the next months to come, this year and hopefully also next year. I'm particular, and also see we are looking for the right opportunities and right partners at local level. So if there's anybody in the room from a non-5 focal country organization, government, or civil society, we are very happy if you are coming forward, maybe after the session, that we can discuss if we can have a second training or third training in your country. Not for your country, but for a regional level, regional people. But of course, your country will also benefit if it is held in your country. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Håkan Tropp, working with CIVI. I used to be part of developing this type of work. I'm not doing that so much these days, but I'm keeping an eye on it, and of course stay involved in some different ways. I think from my side, it's and where I would like to know a little bit more from Tunisia and Morocco, for example, and along this service value chain, and where you see sort of the high risk areas for corruption. I know from other countries and studies that have been made that usually sort of some of the top risks are kickbacks in procurement processes, for example. So whenever you have a tender process, that could be, well, it could differ, but in the range of maybe 10 to 20% in kickbacks. And then another area as well is political capture, basically meaning that politicians will intervene into bureaucratic administrative processes and basically